In tonight's headlines, President Xi Jinping praises Chief Executive John Lee for implementing the city's domestic national security law and promoting the global influence of Hong Kong. Nation marks National Memorial Day, paying tribute to the victims of the Nanjing Massacre. And the government submits requests to the mainland authorities for extending service hours at 2 border checkpoints on New Year's Eve.
President Xi Jinping affirmed the work of Chief Executive John Lee and pledged support for Hong Kong's future development during the city chief's third duty visit to Beijing. Xi praised Lee for his pragmatic and proactive leadership over the past year, highlighting the historic legislation of Article 23 of the Basic Law. The president also acknowledged Lee's efforts in driving economic growth, addressing housing and healthcare issues, and enhancing external exchanges and cooperation. The central government fully recognizes your work and the work of the Hong Kong government, Xi said, adding that Beijing will continue to support Lee's administration to promote the economy through innovation.
今年是本届特区政府任期的一半。
Lee thanked the president and told him that Hong Kong had made progress in different areas since he took office, and the achievements were reflected in several international rankings. This shows that the SAR government's direction is correct, Lee said. The closed-door meeting between Lee and Xi in Beijing was also attended by Premier Li Qiang and several members of the Politburo's Standing Committee. Xia Baolong, director of the Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office, and Zheng Yanxiong, director of the central government's liaison office in Hong Kong, were also present. Jeremy Zhu, Cable News.
In the flag hoisting ceremony on National Memorial Day, soldiers from the PLA lowered the flag to half-mast to mark the 87th anniversary of the Nanjing Massacre. Air raid alerts were sounded throughout the city of Nanjing. Horns of private cars, trains, and ship sirens were sounded. A minute's silence was held during the ceremony at the Memorial Hall of the victims to honor the more than 300,000 people who were killed by invading Japanese forces. Thousands of representatives from various sectors of society participated. As part of the ceremony, 87 youngsters from Nanjing read out a peace declaration. The peace bell was sounded, and 3,000 doves were set free. As of today, there are only 32 survivors left who witnessed the horrific atrocity. In Hong Kong, Acting Chief Executive Eric Chan, along with other senior government officials, members from the Legislative and Executive Councils marked the somber occasion. A 2-minute silence was observed to pay tribute to the victims. Vice Chairman of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference, Leung Chun-ying, and former Chief Executive Donald Tsang, along with a group of students, attended the ceremony. Chan laid a wreath before signing a memorial book. Evelyn Bai, Cable News.
Newly appointed Transport Chief Mabel Chan said the public feedback has been positive on the government's proposal to install surveillance systems and e-payment methods in all taxis, highlighting a triple win for passengers, drivers, and the taxi industry. During a legislative panel discussion, Chan addressed lawmakers' privacy concerns, assuring that in-car footage will be encrypted, offering better privacy protection than the current system, where some drivers installed cameras themselves. The installation cost of the surveillance system is estimated to be around $3,500 to $5,300, with another $150 to $200 for monthly maintenance. Some lawmakers raised concerns and suggested simplifying the requirements to lower costs. Lawmaker Edward Lau proposed a standardized mandatory installation by the government to reduce costs. However, Chan noted that financial responsibility lies with car owners and drivers, and it would be difficult to standardize the installation in all 18,000 taxis. DAB lawmaker Stanley Lee questioned whether authorities have a mechanism to prevent malicious tampering with the cameras. Chan responded that regular inspections and possible surprise checks by the Transport Department would ensure compliance. Before the panel meeting, legislators were also given a tour of taxis equipped with cameras and e-payment systems to understand how the technology works. Jeremy Zhu, Cable News.
To accommodate the anticipated surge of visitors during the festive season, the government is awaiting approval from mainland port authorities to extend service hours at 2 border checkpoints on New Year's Eve. The proposed enhancements include overnight service at the Shenzhen Bay port, as well as extended hours at the Lobo checkpoint until 2 a.m. Residents on both sides of the border welcomed this arrangement. This tourist said it will be very convenient to return to the mainland any time after enjoying the New Year countdown fireworks, while this woman said citizens could easily reunite with families for dinner after work. The move is seen as effort to improve services following last year's challenges, where crowds of revelers found themselves stranded at Shanshui MTR station. With the recent introduction of multi-entry permits for Shenzhen residents, tourism sector lawmaker Perry Yu expects the number of people crossing the border to celebrate New Year's Eve in Hong Kong to exceed 200,000. He is confident that the proposed arrangement will be effective in streamlining crowd management after the fireworks. Cheryl Yun, Cable News.
The mammals section of the Hong Kong Zoological and Botanical Gardens reopened to visitors today after a 2-month closure due to a bacterial infection among some primates. Monkeys could be seen swinging energetically in their cages. Staff dressed in protective gear maintained cleanliness around the cages. Some visitors came to see and take photos of the monkeys. That portion of the park was closed for the public since October, after a total of 12 monkeys died due to sepsis induced by melioidosis. During the closure, the Leisure and Cultural Services departments conducted thorough cleaning and disinfection of the cages and surroundings. The LCSD also reminded visitors to avoid touching, feeding, or throwing anything at the cages to ensure the safety of the animals.
A youth career day kicked off at the airport today, giving the opportunity to youngsters who are keen to pursue a profession in aviation and related industries. Organized by the airport authority, the 2-day event is hoping to fill up around 2,000 job vacancies. Following the launch of the 3-runway system last month, there was an increased demand for manpower in various sectors at the airport. Over 30 companies, including airlines, airport security, and hotels, are recruiting talents. Job seekers can fill out applications and attend interviews on the spot, with sessions on makeup and interview skills also available. Speaking at the event, Stephen Yu, the authority's executive director of airport operations, stated that the 3-runway system can handle a maximum capacity of 120 million passengers and 10 million tons of cargo annually. He anticipates that nearly 40,000 job vacancies will be available in the future, with a commitment to prioritize hiring local workers. Yu expects the Christmas period to be very busy, with passenger volume likely to hit 200,000 people per day.
China's former coach of the men's national football team, has been jailed for 20 years following a trial on corruption charges. Li Tie, who coached the national team for nearly 2 years starting in 2020, had pleaded guilty earlier this year to accepting over $10 million in bribes. He offered about 3 million yuan to get his coaching role with the national team. The 47-year-old, who played as a midfielder with English Premier League side Everton, was sacked after the national team failed to qualify for the 2022 World Cup in Qatar.
The political turmoil in South Korea continues to escalate as angry protesters flooded streets of the capital Seoul, calling for the immediate impeachment and arrest of President Yoon Suk-yeol, whose approval rating has fallen to a historic low of 11%. This came after embattled Yoon defended his decision to impose martial law in a televised address yesterday, refusing to step down and vowing to fight to the end. Opposition leader Lee Jae-myung condemned Yoon's stance as a declaration of war against the people, stressing that impeachment is the most effective way to restore order in the country. The main opposition party has filed a second impeachment motion against Yoon, with a crucial floor vote scheduled for tomorrow. To pass, the motion would require a 2/3 majority in parliament. For that to happen, at least 8 members of the Yoon's ruling People Power Party will have to vote against him. If Yoon is ousted, his constitutional powers will be suspended, and Prime Minister Han Duck-soo will assume the role of acting president. Criminal investigations against Yoon and his cabinet continued, as South Korean police are considering a raid on Yoon's official residence and scrutinizing his phone records. The chief of the National Police Agency, Cho Ji-ho, who is currently in detention for his involvement in the imposition of martial law, said that Yoon had contacted him 6 times to order the arrest of lawmakers. Cho, however, refrained from acting on these directives. Cheryl Yun, Cable News.